People can often find themselves in difficult situations. Most of us face whatever is coming and deal with it in our own ways. However, there are some people who go to extremes to avoid the coming storm. Here are 5 insane but true tales of people who fake their own deaths. John Stonehouse was a British politician with a chilling secret, so much so that in 1974 he attempted to fake his own death. Stonehouse was junior minister under Harold Wilson, but secretly he was a spy working for the Czechoslovakian Socialist Republic. He had been working for the Czech Republic since 1962, providing them with sensitive government information and even technical data on the aircraft from his role as junior minister of aviation. He also had a string of companies which were in serious financial difficulty and had resorted to deceptive accounting. In 1974, the Department of Trade and Industry began taking a serious look at Stonehouse's companies. Aware of impending prosecution, Stonehouse faked his own death whilst holidaying in Miami. He left a pile of clothes on the beach and disappeared. It was then assumed that he had drowned or become the main course for a shark. In reality, Stonehouse was travelling to Australia to start a new life as Clive Muldoon with his secretary and mistress Sheila Buckley. However, Stonehouse began complicating his plan by depositing large sums of money into a bank account using various aliases. It was by pure chance that a teller whom had handled his money in the Bank of New Zealand also handled his money at the Bank of New South Wales. As the sum was unusually high, the teller remembered Stonehouse and informed the police, as Stonehouse had used 2 different aliases to the same teller. The police followed Stonehouse and arrested him soon after. He was convicted and sentenced to 7 years. He spent his final years in Wormwood Scrubs prison, where he died of a heart attack in 1978. Former teacher and prison officer John Darwin disappeared whilst canoeing in 2002. On the 21st of March, Darwin was seen paddling out to the sea at Seaton Crew in Hartlepool. Later that day, he was reported missing and a large-scale sea search was launched. The following day, the wreckage of Darwin's canoe was found and Darwin was declared missing at sea, presumed dead. However, Darwin was far from dead. In actual fact, Darwin had faked his own death after he amassed tens of thousands of pounds of debt. Upon faking his death, he moved into one of the bedsitters he owned, literally one next door to the family home, and lived in secret whilst his wife, Anne, claimed the life insurance which paid off the mortgage on their home and furnished them with an additional £25,000. After multiple near misses and even one encounter where a former tenant recognised him, the Darwins decided to move abroad to start a new life. Using the false name John Jones, Darwin acquired a new passport and the pair flew to Panama in 2006 to purchase a property, 4 years after Darwin had faked his own death. Over the next year, the couple sold their UK properties and purchased properties in Panama, including a £50,000 apartment and a tropical estate for £200,000. They intended to open a luxury hotel and operate, ironically, a canoeing holiday company. However, things began to fall apart for the Darwins. Anne returned home and was overheard talking to John by her colleague, and the police began investigating. Then John wanted to return to the UK to see his sons and manufactured a story claiming he had suffered amnesia with no memory of the last few years. Anne then portrayed the grieving widow come elated wife when the two were reunited. But the police were not convinced. Mounting evidence and suspicion of Anne's trips to Panama to purchase significant properties encouraged further investigation. Then on the 5th of December 2007, a photograph of John and Anne meeting the property agent in Panama was found and published by the Daily Mirror. It was a final piece of devastating evidence which shattered the Darwin story. The intricate web of lies the Darwins had weaved collapsed and the police uncovered everything. Over the next few years, the Darwins were prosecuted for fraud and both were sentenced to 6 years imprisonment. In all, the Darwins had claimed more than £500,000 in life insurance and pension payouts received by deception, with the Crown prosecution recovered. The Darwins left jail in 2011 under probation, penniless and outcast by their sons who were unaware of their parents' deception. Not all fake deaths are driven by a lust for financial gain or escaping prosecution. Timothy Dexter was an 18th century American businessman with a talent for writing and a reputation for eccentricity. Driven by a morbid fascination of how the world would remember him and how his friends and family would react, Dexter faked his own death. His mock wake was attended by more than 3,000 mourners, including Dexter himself. However, Dexter's wife showed little mourning for her husband's passing, and after he revealed it was all a hoax, Dexter caned his wife for not grieving enough. Philip Sessarago was a former soldier and author. He was also a fantasist and claimed membership of the elite SAS. Although he had applied twice, he was turned down on both occasions, but that didn't stop him from telling all his friends that he'd actually joined. In 1998, Sessarago faked his own death, a car bomb in Croatia. He then began life as Tom Karu and wrote a book, Jihad, The Secret War in Afghanistan. However, the book was released the day before the September the 11th attacks and suddenly was propelled up the book rankings. Forgetting the first rule about faking one's death and not being one to shy away from publicity, Sessarago was interviewed as an expert on international terrorism. The interview was shown on television and he was quickly recognised. After being exposed as a fraud, Sessarago disappeared once again. To add further mystery to his life, in 2008, Sessarago's lifeless body was found in a garage in Belgium. The cause of death was determined to be carbon monoxide poisoning and presumed to be a suicide. However, some theorised that he was murdered, or perhaps this was another attempt at faking his own death. Arthur Bennett was a Marine Staff Sergeant with a jaded record. In 1994 he was accused of sexual assault, but no charges were brought against him. In February that year, a trailer Bennett had been living in was found burnt to the ground along with the charred remains of a human body. The body was assumed to be Bennett's and cremated. At his funeral he was given full military honours. However, Bennett had not died in the fire, but instead assumed the name Joe Benson and moved to Utah. In 1998, his cover collapsed when he was accused of molesting his daughters and the child of a neighbour. Police then identified him as Bennett from his fingerprints, and he was arrested. He pleaded guilty to his crimes, but before court-martial was complete, Bennett took his own life in his prison cell. The charred body in his trailer was never identified. No matter how bad things get, the best thing to do is face it head on. In the stories presented here, things had gotten so bad that each one of them had considered the reset button had disappeared. But then, as all well-laid plans, human flaws led to their eventual discovery. Can a person genuinely fake their own death and get away with it? Working alone? Probably not. In each of the cases presented here, vanity, homesickness, or a twisted perversion has proven their undoing. However, it's not to say that people have not committed perfect fake death. Thanks ever so much for watching. Your views, likes, shares and comments mean so much to us, so please keep them coming. If you haven't already, then please subscribe so you don't miss our future episodes. Please click the on-screen links to see our previous insane but true episodes, or if you fancy something a little lighter, please check out our film fan series. This is Andy, and until next time, take care.